All right, so you're ready to record your first podcast. Do you have a microphone? Who's going to distribute for you? Do you have a studio? What about the editing? All right, everyone relax because I think I have the answer. Anchor app. Yeah, Anchor. It's free. They distribute Spotify, Apple, many more. There's creation tools that allow you to edit and create your podcast from your phone, your laptop, or your personal computer. And the best thing of all, girl, you can make money no matter how many listeners you have. So the answer is simple. Get Anchor. Anchor FM app. Go find it now. Tell them a seat at the table sent you. All right, so you know where you're at. You know what it is. Let's get into it, bitch. Oh, my goodness. All right, you're tuned into an all-new episode of A Seat at the Table podcast. Okay. There's always a seat here for you, for me, for everyone. If you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. You know how it goes. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you. Nothing inside of me wanted to do this show today. I know. I used to have this theory about delivering the show. Sans really the intention being that, I want to deliver a great show. Now, if you are a creative or whatever, I don't know, whatever it is that you do, I think that one of the telltale signs of the work kind of having this mediocrity towards it is when the intention is not really there. So I have been trying to spend the entire day thus far trying to muster up the correct je ne sais, if you will, the best je ne sais quoi, to really deliver what I think will be one of the most blah shows that you've ever heard in your entire life. And so here we are. All right, so there's a lot to get into, but let's just get into us, shall we? Okay, so it's week 3 of me being on my new job. And, I think the thing that is most disconcerting when you enter into a new space is especially if you are entering into a new space where you are seemingly trying to figure out the culture, and figuring out the culture in these times are very hard because most of us are not actually working in a space together. So really the culture can be anything because you're home alone. I will say this, it is so refreshing to be in a place where people are really concerned about your professional growth and kind of leave it at that, It's not even about anything personal, or it's you're here because of who you are professionally, and let's just take it from there. So that's been really dope. How is work for you? Now, shout out to all the people who, right now may be furloughed or laid off or may not even be working at all. Shout out to all of you. I just was kind of cleaning up my space, and, I hate having a bunch of bills and stuff just lying around, especially in my bedroom. Does that make sense? I don't like having that energy in the place where I rest, So I was kind of cleaning up, and I found a letter from unemployment, basically making a judgment about how much they were going to give me and blah, blah, blah. That was from March. It is August. I never received anything. So with 30 million Americans still, trying to figure it all out, shout out to everyone who is, able to work, who is unable to work, because it's rough out here. Speaking of rough out here, Ooh, don't you point your finger at me. Speaking of rough out here. Y'all, can I tell y'all about how I was supposed to have a date this week, Thursday? Oh, yes. A young, gentle whore that I met on the Nasty Girl apps. So I spent most of the week talking to this delightful man, only to have him ghost me literally an hour or two before our date. Which, okay, fine. Now, I ain't no simp. So when I felt like things might go left, I tried to make alternate plans with someone that I had not heard from in a while. I had blocked him, and this man reached out to me on an unblocked number. Okay, cool. Only to have him also rebuff my advances for having ourselves a swell evening on a Thursday night. Now, that's kind of my fault because, like, all right. There's always somebody in the cipher that I don't know, like, it's kind of like your fire extinguisher guy, like the guy that, like, when everything is going bad, this is the person that you fall back on. So this guy is, for all intents and purposes, kind of my fire extinguisher guy and has been for a little while now. But he wasn't here to out my fire the other night, honey. He said, bitch, you thought. I do still believe, despite all of the mishaps that I've had in love. That's a fair question. Do you still believe it possible for you? Like, at what age did you stop believing in love? And have you come back? I mean, I think that we all have a moment where we're like, you know what? This love shit is for the birds, okay? For the birds. But I think we all have a moment where we say, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a go, okay? I'm going to strap on my life vest. And because honestly, I was having a conversation with someone this week and they said to me, I just don't want to be hurt. But it's like, what? Unless you literally walk around with your feelings packed up in bubble wrap, what exactly can you do to protect yourself? Because it's like the same things that we're doing to protect ourselves from being hurt are the same things that are keeping us from the things that we want. You know what I mean? I mean, think about it. You think that harsh exterior that's letting people know what time it is keeping you from getting hurt, when really all it's doing is keeping you from getting loved. I don't know. I think that, like, one of the messages that I really had to hold on to this week is the idea that nothing that I'm doing, listen, all right, let's get into this. Why don't we? You ever have that one friend that, like, they mean well, but if you are going through something, they are kind of the ones that's like, bitch, like, fuck that shit. Like, yo, you don't have to put up with that shit. And all, they mean well, but, and maybe we're setting the table too early here. Are we setting? Let's just go for it. Honestly, I think that I have reached a point where I think that I know that I am not used to choosing myself or even knowing how to do that, because all relationships are there to show us something, to teach us something. And so I'm always here for the lesson. I never try to run from it. But one of the things that I've been having to realize is that I cannot push anyone into enlightenment. I'm not going to be able to save anyone from themselves. Not only do I get off on like being out there and experiencing the love, but I also get off on thinking that I can save someone from what is their inevitable future, you know? And that's just not the truth. I think that I am at a place where one of the toughest things that I can do for myself is choose myself. It's one of the battles that I struggle with. I was raised to be a people pleaser, to always consider someone else's feelings, to always kind of respond to the needs of my mom, my dad, well, my parents, you know, friends, siblings, family. That's kind of how I was raised. Always being hyper aware of what the temperature is and not necessarily being able to act in a way that gives prudence to my own needs and desires. So even when it comes to situations that may be detrimental to me, I think oftentimes I still don't know in those situations how to choose myself. And how to get out of the idea that somehow this divine love is going to also come with pain. You know, I'm definitely one of those people that when I am in love and I feel great, I feel like I see the world through different lenses. I feel fantastic. But when I am depressed or not feeling that well, are y'all like that? Like, what's your go-to behavior for when you're feeling like a Debbie Downer? Mine is either some form of some addictive something, so smoking or whatever, or sleeping. I'm not a big sleeper, though. Maybe working out. That's also something that I'll get into. I don't know. I just think that, I'm a work in progress. But thank goodness that I have you guys that are loyal listeners. And, you know, I've got friends that are amazing because through those relationships, I've also been able to see pieces of myself that honestly are not that bad. Speaking of not that bad, so there's new music from our girl Brandy, B7, which is the 15-track album delivered by Brandy, features tracks from has features from Daniel Caesar and Chance the Rapper, as well as Brandy's very own daughter Sarai. And I have not truly given the album a listen. I know that there's been some diehard Brandy fans out there who have really been going up for the album and really been on Brandy mode since the album has come out. But I think I'll give it a listen. There's been a lot of new stuff happening, and it's honestly it's almost like tiring trying to keep up with the news cycle and the new music and the new this. It's like, oh my God, Chilla. Speaking of which, after the release of The Lion King, Beyonce has now delivered a visual to support the Lion King album, and it is called Black is King. Now, this debuted, I think, 3:00 in the morning on Friday.